7 things that happen when you stop texting first. Have you ever felt like you were the only one trying to keep the connection alive? Like if you didn't text first, the conversation and maybe the relationship would just disappear? If that hits home, this message is for you. Because today, we're going to talk about something that could shift your mindset and transform the way you show up in relationships. It's not about games. It's not about manipulation. It's about reclaiming your value and finally understanding the quiet power of not reaching out first. When you stop texting first, something powerful happens, not just between you and them, but deep within you. You begin to see who's truly there for you and who only stays when you make it easy. This video will walk you through 7 eye-opening things that begin to shift when you stop chasing and start standing in your worth. And by the end of it, you won't just feel stronger, you'll be stronger. So stay with me, because these words might just change how you view your worth, your silence, and your love. When you stop texting first, one of the most profound things that happens is that you discover who truly values you. For so long, you may have been the one holding the conversation together, the one reaching out, checking in, making plans, showing care. Maybe it felt natural at first, maybe it even felt necessary, but over time, something started to feel off. You began to wonder if they would ever reach out, if you didn't, and that question alone is a sign that something needs to shift. Because relationships, real ones, aren't built on one person doing all the work. They're built on mutual effort, interest, and care. When you pull back and stop texting first, you create a moment of truth. It's like turning down the volume in a loud room so you can finally hear what's really there. The silence you create gives space for clarity, and in that space, the truth surfaces. The people who genuinely value you, who enjoy your presence, who see your worth, they don't disappear, they reach out, they ask how you are, they make the effort, not because they have to, but because they want to. That's the kind of connection that matters, the kind you don't have to beg for or chase. It comes from a place of real intention. But when you've been the one always initiating, always showing up first, always filling in the gaps, it can be terrifying to stop. There's fear. What if they never text me again? What if they forget about me? What if they move on? Those thoughts can be loud. But here's the truth. If they forget you the moment you stop reaching out, they were never really with you in the first place. They were responding to your energy, not contributing to it. You were the one keeping the bond alive, and they were just taking the comfort of it without offering the same in return. This revelation, while painful at first, is incredibly freeing. Because now you can stop wasting time and emotion on people who were never really committed to you. You can redirect your heart, your time, your affection toward those who are just as willing to pour into you as you are into them. That shift can be life-changing. Suddenly you're not questioning your worth based on who replies or who stays silent. You're measuring value based on action, consistency, and effort. It's not about playing games or manipulating people into chasing you. It's about giving space for the real ones to reveal themselves. When someone chooses to stay connected with you without needing a push, it's one of the clearest signs that they see your worth and genuinely care. And when they don't, it gives you the gift of clarity. No more guessing, hoping, or explaining away their silence. You've seen the truth with your own eyes. It empowers you to step out of situations that are beneath you, that drain you, that keep you stuck in emotional limbo. And this choice to stop texting first is not an act of coldness. It's an act of self-love. It's a decision to stop forcing connections that should flow naturally. It's a way of honoring your heart, your time, and your energy. Because the people who truly care will always find a way to reach you, not because you reminded them, but because they were thinking of you on their own. That's the kind of love, friendship, and attention that's worth holding on to. You gain clarity and confidence the moment you stop texting first. It might seem like a small action, just a pause in communication, but the emotional ripple it creates is powerful. When you're always the one initiating contact, you begin to attach your value to how quickly or how often someone responds. You start overanalyzing every delay, every dry reply, every message left on read. It wears you down. Little by little, and you don't even notice how much power you're handing over. But when you stop texting first, suddenly the emotional fog begins to lift, the noise fades, and in that stillness you find yourself again. This isn't about ego or manipulation. It's about emotional detox. Because chasing someone for attention distracts you from tuning into your own needs. When you take a step back and stop reaching out, it feels strange at first, uncomfortable even. You may feel a sudden emptiness, like something is missing. But that space isn't something to fear, it's something to explore. It's in that silence that your thoughts settle, your heart speaks louder, and your confidence begins to rebuild itself. You start to realize that you are filling your time, your heart, and your self-worth with someone else's presence. Now you're filling it with your own. The clarity you gain is not just about the other person, it's about yourself. You realize how often you are texting out of anxiety, out of fear of being forgotten, out of a desperate need to feel connected. You begin to understand your own emotional triggers. Why were you trying so hard? Why were you so afraid of their silence? And in that awareness, you grow. You start to see that the only validation that truly matters is the one you give yourself. The kind that says, I am enough, even when I'm not being pursued. I am valuable, even in silence. Confidence grows, not in the presence of others, but in the peace you find with yourself. When you stop texting first, you stop performing. You stop curating the perfect message to seem interesting or funny. You stop trying to impress or provoke a reaction. You simply exist, unapologetically, and that is where real confidence is born. You begin to walk into your day not wondering if they'll message you, but knowing that you're already complete, with or without a ping on your screen. That kind of confidence doesn't need to shout, it simply radiates. There's a shift that happens internally when you no longer place your emotional well-being in someone else's hands. You begin to stand taller. You notice how much energy you were giving away without return, and as that energy returns to you, you become more focused, more balanced, and more grounded. You start investing in yourself, in your passions, in your peace, in your purpose. The less you chase, the more you attract. Not because you're playing games, but because confidence is magnetic. People are drawn to those who are centered, whole, and at peace within. The clarity you gain also changes how you see others. You begin to recognize who adds value to your life and who simply consumes it. You spot red flags quicker, set boundaries with greater ease, and make choices from a place of self-respect, not loneliness. You stop being impressed by mere effort. You start requiring consistency. And when someone comes into your life, you're no longer hoping they'll choose you. You're watching to see if they deserve a place beside you. That's the difference between seeking approval and knowing your worth. You break the cycle of one-sided effort when you stop texting first. This is a reality many people ignore because they're too caught up in their own hopes, dreams, and emotional attachments. When you're the one always initiating conversations, checking in and making sure the connection stays alive, you're placing the full weight of the relationship on your own shoulders. Over time, this creates a dangerous imbalance where you become the giver and the other person becomes comfortable simply receiving. It might not start with bad intentions, but habits form quickly in relationships. When you're the one constantly reaching out, it teaches the other person that they don't need to try, they can wait, and you'll always show up. This dynamic drains your energy, lowers your standards, and makes you question your own worth. The act of pulling back feels uncomfortable at first because it disrupts a rhythm that's become familiar. But that discomfort is a sign that you've been settling for less than you deserve. One-sided effort is emotionally exhausting. It can leave you feeling invisible even when you're constantly present. It creates a space where you feel responsible for both your feelings and theirs, trying to maintain balance when they've stopped contributing to it. But the moment you stop texting first, you put that balance to the test, you allow the silence to speak, and in that silence, you see clearly whether the other person values you enough to step up and meet you halfway. Many people fear that stopping the effort will cause the connection to fade, and sometimes it will, But the deeper truth is, if a relationship falls apart simply because you stopped chasing it, then it was never secure to begin with. Real connection isn't dependent on one person's effort. It's two people recognizing each other's value and choosing to build something together. When you stop texting first, you give the other person a chance to show their heart, not with words, but with action. You find out whether they're interested in you or just interested in being pursued. Ending the cycle of one-sided effort isn't about punishing the other person or playing mind games. It's about respecting yourself enough to stop pouring from a cup that never gets refilled. It's about honoring your own emotional needs and stepping into a relationship dynamic where you're seen, heard, and pursued with equal desire. Because in a healthy relationship, communication flows both ways. Effort is mutual, and care isn't something you beg for, it's something you both express freely. Breaking that cycle also teaches you a powerful lesson in self-control. It reminds you that you don't have to prove your worth through constant giving. You don't have to overextend yourself to earn someone's attention or affection. The right people will never need to be chased. They will feel your absence and they will reach out. Not because you manipulated them into it, but because they genuinely want to stay connected. And the ones who don't, let them go. Let their silence reveal what their words never did. You're not hard to love, and you don't need to beg for anyone's time. Sometimes the boldest act of self-love is simply choosing not to be the only one trying. You reclaim your time and power when you stop texting first. It's easy to underestimate just how much of your emotional energy is spent thinking about someone else when you're the one always initiating contact. Every message you send isn't just about words, it's about attention, time, emotional investment, and mental space. You think about when to text, what to say, how to keep the conversation interesting, and how to get a meaningful response. This cycle becomes a routine, one that quietly drains your energy and distracts you from your own life. You begin to orbit around someone else's availability, waiting on replies, hoping for engagement, and adjusting your mood based on how they respond or whether they respond at all. This is how your personal power slips away. Slowly, silently, and consistently. When you make the decision to stop texting first, you're not just choosing silence, you're choosing yourself. You're choosing to pour all that time, all that effort, all that mental focus back into your own life. That's when the shift happens. That's when you start noticing just how much of your own day was spent wrapped up in someone who wasn't giving the same in return. Reclaiming your time doesn't mean you no longer care. It means you're placing your own emotional well-being above someone else's inconsistent interest. And that is a powerful thing. It's not selfish. It's self-respect. In those first quiet hours or days of not texting first, your mind might try to pull you back in. You'll wonder if they notice your absence, if they miss your messages, if they're thinking of you at all. But those moments are where your strength grows, because instead of giving in to the impulse, you let the stillness grow. You let it remind you that you are not dependent on anyone's attention to feel worthy. You do not need someone else's response to confirm your value. The power you were giving away through every first message, every second guess, every unanswered text, is now returning to you. That reclaimed power allows you to move differently. You begin to see your day with more clarity. You focus more easily on your goals, your growth, and your passions. You start showing up for yourself in ways you didn't even realize you'd neglected. The space that once belonged to someone else's silence becomes a space of healing, discovery, and new strength. You may even notice that your mood stabilizes, your anxiety lessens, and your thoughts become more focused. That's what happens when you cut the emotional thread that kept tugging at your peace. This shift also transforms how you show up in future relationships. You become more discerning. You're not quick to chase. You listen for consistency. You look for effort. You stop glamorizing people who give you breadcrumbs. You know now that your time is not free, Your energy is not cheap and your presence is a gift. When you stop giving it away so easily, the right people will begin to treat it with the value it deserves. You begin to walk in confidence, not desperation. You move with calm, not chaos. You reclaim your time, not just from someone else, but for yourself. That's not just emotional maturity, it's freedom. You invite mystery and respect when you stop texting first. In today's world, where constant connection has become the norm, being always available can unintentionally send the message that you are always waiting, always ready, always chasing. It may feel like love to you, like effort, commitment, or care, but to the other person, it can start to feel expected, predictable, and even taken for granted. When someone knows you'll always reach out first, they stop feeling the need to meet you halfway. But the moment you step back, something powerful happens. The rhythm changes, you shift the emotional current, and suddenly you become someone they have to think about, not someone they can just assume is always there. This is not about being distant to manipulate or pretending not to care. It's about valuing yourself enough to stop giving access to someone who hasn't earned it. When you stop initiating, you create a healthy space, and in that space, you become more intriguing. You give the other person a chance to miss you, to reflect on what you brought into their life, and to realize that your presence was never guaranteed. It was a choice you made every time you reached out. That mystery is not about being elusive or hard to get. It's about being grounded in your own self-worth and no longer feeling the need to prove it through constant pursuit. Respect often begins when people realize that your attention is not unlimited. When you stop texting first, you're not just changing a habit, you're setting a boundary. You're telling the world, I don't chase, I attract. I don't need to push for someone to see me. I'm visible as I am. This kind of confidence earns respect. It doesn't demand it. People notice when your energy shifts. They sense the difference when you stop overextending and start pulling back into yourself. And whether or not they ever say it out loud, they begin to pay closer attention. You are no longer just an option. They begin to consider what they stand to lose. Mystery doesn't mean hiding who you are. It means allowing others the opportunity to seek, discover, and pursue you. When you're always the one reaching out, you remove that chance. You give them the full picture too soon, too often. But when you stop texting first, you let the other person wonder. You give them room to lean in. And if they don't, that tells you everything. Because the right connection doesn't disappear in silence. It becomes loud. The right person doesn't need constant reminders to value you. They just do. Respect also grows in distance. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do for yourself is to stop forcing closeness with someone who isn't meeting you in the middle. When you stop initiating, you reclaim the dignity that comes from waiting, not passively, but patiently. You're not sitting around hoping they'll text. You're living, you're thriving, you're growing. And if they reach out, they do it from a place of choice, not pressure. That alone changes everything. Because when someone chooses to pursue you without your prompting, that's when real respect is born. This shift can be subtle, but it's profound. You don't have to be cold or detached to be respected. You just have to stop proving yourself to people who should already see your value. You don't become less caring, you become more careful with your care. You don't become less loving, you become more selective with your love. The mystery you create by stepping back is not a mask or a game. It's the quiet strength of someone who knows their worth and is no longer afraid to protect it. When you stop texting first, you begin one of the most important journeys in any relationship, the journey back to yourself. You stop chasing, stop doubting, and stop bending to fit into someone else's rhythm. You allow space for truth to rise, clarity to come, confidence to grow, and real effort to show up. You break free from the exhaustion of one-sided effort and reclaim the energy that was quietly draining you day after day. You begin to value your own time, your own presence, and your own peace in ways you may have forgotten. The silence you once feared becomes a source of power, and the attention you used to beg for becomes something you now attract by standing firm in your self-worth. Most of all, you remind yourself and the world that love should never have to be forced, because what is meant for you will never require you to chase it endlessly. Thank you so much for watching this video and giving your heart the attention it deserves. If this message spoke to you, take it as a sign to honor your worth, protect your peace, and never again beg for effort. Stay strong, stay grounded, and stay true to the love you give, because you deserve to receive it in return.